We've lined up some of the iconic Nissan Zs and brought them all together in one epic location in Toronto, looking at the legendary heritage of this car and how it has evolved throughout the years. From before Nissan had its name with the Datsun and its rally car racing history, to the late Paul Walker's 370Z that featured in the Fast and Furious, all building up to the future of the Zs with GTR-inspired NISMO.
Wow, look at all of these Zs here! We're starting off with the first ever Z made, the 240Z. It was called one of the greatest sports cars to come out of Japan for not only how beautiful it is, but for how great it was to drive. The front end really comes together with the headlights, how they're kind of concaved in, the wide front grille. And then as you notice, it actually says Datsun. And that's because before Nissan was Nissan, it was actually Datsun. You'll see on the C-pillars, the Z emblem has become just so iconic. Pay attention because you'll see it later. The hood line, it just has this very sleek end to it. The rear is really pieced together by the rear taillights, and then even the chrome bumper is just a nice finishing touch to this super sleek design. Nissan actually raced this chassis in the 1971 Safari Rally. Obviously, they didn't race it like this. They modified it and souped it up to make it suitable for the Safari race. All right, moving on to the next car down the line, we have the 300ZX. Now, the X stands for luxury. This is definitely a more luxurious option, and as you can see, compared to the 240Z, this is a much more of a wedge shape. It actually came with a T-top option. You can actually see right through the roof. It's glass, and these pieces are removable so that you can enjoy the outside, the sun, without it being a convertible. Now, some of the styling, it is very unique to this era. The headlights are no longer recessed, they're actually flush with the body line so that it's a bit more aerodynamic. Matching with the styling of the front flush lights, so is the rear. Instead of them like protruding out on the 240Z, these ones are a lot more flush with everything, but still keep that rectangular shape. And the 370Z.
Fans of the Fast and Furious will recognize it as Paul Walker's 370Z that was featured in Fast 5.
Now you see the livery on here is a little bit different than most 370Zs. This is actually a 50-year anniversary. It's inspired by the Datsun racing team back in the early 70s. Now this Z brings back a lot of the original 240Z styling. The side profile itself has the long front hood and then the sweeping rear end. It's just overall wider, and its taillights are more aggressive. And this is the latest Nissan Z. This is such a beautiful car. If you take a couple seconds to really look at the front end, you'll see a lot of the Fairlady Z in here. Even down to the design and curvature of the hood, you see that has almost like a Y shape that follows the rest of the body line from the long hood and the sweeping rear end. And it's so cool to see the iconic Z emblem. The rear, and it's gorgeous. First the color, but it's also sleek and modern. The rear taillights, you can tell, are from the iconic 300ZX that we looked at earlier. And when the lights are on, it's actually kind of an LED 3D effect. Now is the part I am so excited for. We get an exclusive sneak peek of the Z Nismo. This Z was built to go fast on the track, and we know this because of the name NISMO, which stands for Nissan Motorsports. Now this car has the DNA and backbone of the Nissan GTR. Keeping the heritage alive in the NISMO, you see the headlights that are the same in the Z. The whole front end resembles the Fairlady Z, the 240Z, from the massive front grille that allows for airflow. Like I said, the headlights with the top and bottom LEDs, they're kind of oval to really represent the 240 round headlights. And for the Nismo version, it has this aggressive front bumper and these red accents that really go all the way down the car on the side splitter and even down the rear bumper. You see that it's a black and silver two-tone trim piece here, which is supposed to represent a katana, which is a traditional Japanese sword. And I'm really happy to see that the iconic Z emblem has made it onto the Nismo. Our wheels are a 19-inch alloy. They've redesigned this rear bumper to be a lot more aggressive and aerodynamic. Even just comparing it to the Nissan Z versus the Z Nismo. The rear taillights, again from the 300ZX, keeping that heritage alive. The spoiler is taller, it's wider, it's a three-piece design that really helps the car stay planted to the ground with the additional downforce. And of course, my personal favorite, in the rear glass, you'll see since 1969. Even though it's a small sports car, it has a ton of room in the back. And this silver crossbar here, it's not just for looks. It's actually a crossbar that stiffens the chassis so that it stays planted on the road when you're driving it on the track. Let's check out the inside. So right out the gate, the first thing I noticed about the Z Nismo is that the door handle and the air vent is almost an exact replica from the 370Z. There's still so many Easter eggs that I've picked up and noticed from the other Zs, like the triple cluster right here. You got your turbo speed, and your volt measure cluster. The seat actually holds me really well. Like, this is a very track focused car, so it makes sense that there's a bucket seat, but it's still really, really comfortable. Both the seat and the steering wheel are wrapped in Alcantara. They have this red stitching, these nice details, and they are Recaro seats that are specialty made for the Nismo Z. Let's go ahead and get it started. I really like how it greets you with the Z Nismo. It just feels like it's very race car. It just feels good. The steering wheel just is almost like meant to be in my hands, and the paddle shifters are nicely placed. Then coming down here, which similar to the start stop, we have what's called D mode, which is our drive mode selector. You have standard, sport, and sport plus. And in the sport plus mode, it changes the computer so that the shifting is more well-suited, dynamic for driving on the track. Underneath the hood, we have a twin-turboed V6, which has 420 horsepower and 384 foot-pounds of torque. Now, horsepower is how fast you go. Torque is how fast you're getting there, the oomph that you have behind your accelerator. This is just a sneak peek at the Z Nismo. You guys will have to go ahead and take it for a test drive yourselves and let me know how it is. But today, we're gonna go ahead and take the Nissan Z on a spin. I am really excited to be behind the wheel of the Nissan Z. Now, one of the very first things I want to try out is launch control. Woo! That's awesome. Wow, I can really feel the horses underneath the hood of this car. The Z is officially back, baby. Woo! So we're on Princesses Boulevard, which is Toronto's IndyCar track. And driving the Z on this road, I can really understand why the Z represents Nissan on the GT series. It just feels so planted to the ground. It just feels like a driver's car. It's minimalistic, but it just has everything that you need and a little more. All the power you could want.